giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Good morning, good people. Welcome to ABC Sports Live. We are streaming live on YouTube, and of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Boom! What's happening, Bomb Squad? We are back, and we're talking about state of the unit, the edge unit. Going to break down each player, but I have to keep it real, man. There's a conversation not being had right now because it's not the cool thing to talk about, okay? So we're going to do that because it's the most important thing to do. But before we get into all that, man, I mean, I shouldn't say this because, you know, where I live currently, the team I actually root for, whatever. But congratulations, yeah, to the Boston Celtics on winning their record-setting 18th championship. To Maverick fans, though.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Well, it was a good run. Truly. You got a lot to be proud of, you know? You really weren't supposed to be here. You tanked. And you still were here. So shouts out to y'all too. Hey, Los, I didn't mean to, you know, Los. I know Los is watching this right now, a little ticked off. A lot of y'all Mavericks fans, a little ticked off too. But look, man, hey, be proud you got there. You know, hopefully next time they finish this thing off. That's a real good team over there in Boston. I expected them really to win, but I was rooting for the Mavs to win because, again, I want to put the pressure on that. The Rangers just won. If the Mavs won, that'd have been really cool to have two of the three major cities walk away with a trophy. But didn't happen, you know, and maybe we'll see if they'll be back next year. Yeah, but shouts out to the Boston Celtics on their 18th championship. Kind of crazy. Yes, I agree. Still, them boys. Boston was indeed the best team. Yep. From top to bottom, more depth. They just didn't rely on a couple guys. They were coached better. They had more depth. Everything about the squad was better. So shouts out to them. But we're talking Cowboys today. We're diving into the State of the Unit series. Oh man, where my man? What's up with y'all, Bomb Squad?
Bomb Squad!
That's on me, baby. That's on. I got a little distracted, man. We got some good news. In fact, let me go here. Look right. Yeah, I got a little distracted. We got some good news. Again, a lot of good things happening behind the scenes that hopefully some point here soon we'll be able to share with you. But today, what I do want to share with you, by the way, you want to call into the show, you can. 351-999-3787 is the call-in line. We are talking about a unit that going into the draft, we talked about this being a very underrated need. Coming out of the draft, they addressed it. Some people not really happy about it because they took it early in the draft in the second round. I personally think good pick. I like the player, and we'll dive into that. We're going to dive into every single aspect of this room. But quiet as it's kept, I still think currently, June 18th, 2024 at 9 o'clock Central, I still think we're looking at this unit with more question marks from a sure depth standpoint, right, than we have in the last 4 years. Since Dan Quinn, they've won like 5 or 6 deep. We go all the way back to, was it 2021, where they ran out Randy Gregory and D. Law. We stumbled into Micah Parsons. That right there was a phenomenal 3. Then behind that, you had Armstrong come along. You had even Terrell Basham chipped in for 5 sacks. Then the next year, they go out and they get Dante Fowler to go with D-Law and Micah, and Dorrance, became a staple of that unit. Hell, they even still had Basham. They had so many players drafted Sam Williams, Chauncey Golston, back and forth. Still getting over this. They had so many players, they had to cut one of their trusted veterans. 2023, run back the same unit in a sense, but I don't think they got the same results. They were still serviceable. Now that sounds crazy when you got a Micah Parsons. Sounds crazy, but we're going to get into it. Why it tailed off, actually. So when we look at this unit, I still look at it as some question marks, but I also still look at it with some promise. Now, I don't think that promise lies in the back half, though. But we have to cover them. What other time are you really going to talk about these guys besides them if they make a play in preseason? That's why we do these state of the units. That's why we look into every single aspect and see if maybe we can find a diamond in the rough, and then talk about the guys who are going to be obvious contributors and if they can be enough. So let's talk about this back half of the unit, starting with Byron Vaughns, who a local, right? Went to Baylor, but he is a transfer out of Utah State, where he was pretty damn productive at Utah State. Had 2 seasons over there, and he had 150 tackles, 14 and a half tackles for loss, 8 sacks. He ended up transferring to Baylor. Maybe he wanted to, a better school. Not sure why. I'm not familiar with the situation. But he did not have the season that he wanted, and he spoke about that. He said, quote, "Not getting the productivity that I wanted, not getting the playing time that I wanted, that obviously made me work on other things that I can improve on, just being a football player and being a better person in general." Now, Vaughn's a tricky case because before I really looked into him, right, I didn't know nothing of him going into the draft process. He wasn't on the radar of guys to study. But coming out of it, when they signed him, okay, they got a pass rush. But then you say 6'3", 225 at his pro day. That's not a prototypical pass rusher, right? In fact, Dan Quinn might have used him at linebacker. In all seriousness, Vaughn's played outside linebacker. So maybe in a 3-4 quasi Dan Quinn, everybody's everywhere type of defense, Vaughn's makes sense. I'm very interested to see what they do with this guy. If he's going to be, I can't see him being handed a dirt guy, but if he's going to be more outside linebacker rush guy. He just doesn't have the prototypical size, I think, to do the Zimmer things, but they signed him. Then you have Darrell Johnson and Tyrus Wheat. We didn't see much of anything from Johnson last year, but Tyrus Wheat, what an interesting player. I remember, after we signed Tyrus Wheat last year, and you want to look at his film, you're like, okay, this dude looks like a defensive end, but he's playing linebacker. He was dropping back in coverage. He was, playing Mike, directing traffic. Oh, and then he put his hand in the dirt and he rushed the passer. Not like Micah, where Micah just looked like he's built in the lab. Tyrus Wheat just kind of like a left defensive end doing linebacker things. So that actually translated to the NFL. Tyrus Wheat got here and he was working with the backers. He was doing some pass rush things. He registered in the preseason, 32 snaps at linebacker, 32 snaps on the box, or in the box. I'm sorry, on the line. Then to my surprise, if you guys remember this, Tyrus Wheat gets called up. We got put on the 53-man roster. I forget who got cut. And we're going into week 6 against the Chargers. Tyrus Wheat gets called up. He actually gets out there very early. And for whatever reason, y'all remember this? Dan Quinn, or shouts out to Kellen Moore, found a way to get Keenan Allen on Tyrus Wheat at linebacker. And of course, you know what happens next. He gets routed up, first down, moved the chains as they were backed up. You didn't see Tyrus Wheat again for the rest of that game. But I don't know, man. Just last year was just wacky in how Dan utilized a lot of these guys. I do not look at Tyrus Wheat as a linebacker. Let this man put on some peanut butter, see if he, or may actually probably need to slim up a bit, or tone up a bit, get a bit faster, more explosive, and see what he can be as a pass rusher. He's not a linebacker. Could he be a prototypical? He has a size in this scheme for Zimmer, but again, I really don't foresee the promise in this group. I don't. Call it cynical, call it Sky, you being negative. I just don't see it in this group, and that includes, unfortunately, and this is really just going off of feel, Viliami Fehoko, the 2023 fourth round pick, and maybe because his sponsor is not in the building. Is there something to Fehoko? Absolutely. I mean, you saw that in his college film. He is a left defensive end with the motor, plays the run type situation, right? Gets after the quarterback with his hair flying. Yeah, of course there's something there. And honestly, I maybe I just got to wait and see it out there. Because they hit Fehoko with an IR, buddy. And now the guy that drafted him in the fourth round, mind you, that's not some slouch pick, is no longer here. Oh, and by the way, they drafted a guy to do very similar things, play against the run and rush the passer when we need to, in the second round. So maybe it's the situation is why I'm not as excited about the prospects of Fehoko in 2024. He's another one of those players that a tweener guy, inside, outside, but that's something that Scanina talked about actually wanting, right? They want a guy who can go inside and rush the passer, or on rundowns, play outside and play the run. Now, Fehoko, if y'all remember from a college standpoint, came in undersized and then got his weight up to like 260 and some change. So he probably have to play around that. I don't know if he lost weight. I don't know. We don't know nothing about Fehoko. But can he be an LDE, a left defensive end to play the run and rush the passer on the interior? I thought last year he could, be groomed into that guy, right? When 90 left, talking about Demarcus Lawrence. But they put him on IR and he wasn't really hurt. It was just one of those wink things. So I'm not coming at the player himself. He's a big fat incomplete. We know nothing about Fehoko besides college film. But the situation, he's now put in a situation where maybe, possibly, he'll have to be that sixth man that brings that spark. Can he be? I don't know, Cowboys Nation. I really am just here with it with Fehoko. How y'all feel about Viliami, aka Junior Fehoko? Like, I get, well, obviously we were rooting for him. We want him to do great things, but very similar to Awesome, right? Where Awesome, if they loved Awesome, why would they bring back Chuma? If they love Fehoko, why would they draft a guy that does similar things that he did in college, who I think he actually is better in Marshaun Kneeland, and we'll get to that. Why they draft him in the second round? Law said he's a jag. Well, I mean, maybe not. I'm just saying the situation. How y'all feel about the situation, Fehoko? Do you think he can rise above being grouped with this group? Because let's be real, he's grouped in this group. He ain't in that next group we finna talk about. He ain't in that next group. Cut him? Well, I don't know if you want to get rid. Fourth round pick, cutting him the next year would really hurt. You need him to show something. Let's see something first, right? Haven't seen much of him, Cowboy Shank, sure. This room ain't complete, Swain. Swain, this conversation is not being had enough. I think about this room here. It's not. And what's actually being talked about for this room is goofy to me, because the real important conversation is being had right now, and that's part of the depth. The depth is not what it once was. Now, as we transition into the top guys, right? Talk about a guy like Marshaun Kneeland. Sky Housey and the top guy. Well, he's a second-round pick. I know. But in all seriousness, he has the talent, and he will have the opportunity for sure. He'll be a part of this damn rotation. He has no choice being a second-round pick. And unlike Sam in his rookie year, which he showed promise in his rookie year in Sam, there's not 5 guys or 4 or 5 guys ahead of Marshaun Kneeland. It's not happening. Marshaun is going to be asked to contribute right away as a core rotational guy. This was Coach Z on just his general thoughts. And man, they be asking Coach Z, when I say Z, I mean Skanina, about these guys. You could tell he's just like, are we done yet? But anyway, here's Coach Z on Marshaun Kneeland.
Got a great motor. He's a smart kid. He's got somewhat of a good technician in college. Again, he's picked it up so far. So like I said, his learning curve is going to be jumping more and more. Every time he goes out there. But he's got a great motor. He loves football.
That size and athleticism, will it give him a lot of versatility, being able to move him inside, moving out?
Yeah, that's what we looked at, throughout the whole process. You like to have ends that can play inside, especially on sub downs, and then vice versa. It could be a play outside on rundowns.
Scott Dave. Hey, did you see Coach Z need to suit up? That's all I'm gonna say. Coach Z need to suit up. What you heard him right there. Yeah, we want to be able to move him inside in that quote unquote NASCAR package. In today's day and age, getting lighter on pass downs is the thing. Zimmer back in the day would look at you and be like, "No, sir, Bobski." But the game has changed. Early downs, you heard him. We want a guy that can, play on the outside and help against the run. Then on passing down, slide him inside. And Marshaun Kneeland is going to be able to do that. I think coming out of college, this is a more explosive, better athlete than Fehoko, which is why I have him ranked above him. The film was better as well, in my opinion. And I just think the traits are a little better. I think he's just, like I said, a more explosive player. So I'm excited to see Kneeland in this system. I do think he's a prototypical guy for Mike Zimmer. 6'3", goes roughly, 270 plus or something like that. And he's probably going to put on some more strength and quickness by next year. But we're just talking about 2024. And in 2024, how much are they going to put on this guy's plate? And where is his head at? I don't think this is a Sam Williams situation where we got to remember, when you go back and look at Sam, and I'm getting ahead of myself here, he was still learning the sport, not just a position, the sport. Kneeland's been playing the position for a little bit now. I think he's way headier, and I think he'll have a more, and this is going to sound crazy because Sam had like 4 sacks. I think he'll have more of an impactful season in his rookie year because he's going to be asked to play the run well, which he does, and when need be, get after the quarterback. Not just pin my ears back and get after the quarterback. Because remember, Sam struggled with that early on in his career, or early on in his rookie season. So I'm excited to see this guy in this specific system. Being coached up, by the way, by that behemoth and Coach Skanina. No nonsense guy. Gotta love it. Now let's pause for a second and talk about Sam. Before we get to our top 2 guys, Marshaun Kneeland, and more importantly, Sam Williams. Turn the music on. Are your most important guys in the front 7. Whoa, what the hell are you talking about, Sky? Look, we know what Micah going to be. We know what D-Law going to be. We know what Eric Kendrick's going to be. One of these linebackers opposite of Kendrick is going to be fine. Your defensive tackles, they butt right now. You need one of Sam and Marshaun, if not both, to snap. Yeah. You need these guys to be impactful. And unfortunately, they're surrounded with question marks. One, Marshaun's a rookie. Two, Sam is Sam. I mean, he's just a big, fat, unpredictable player. Extremely talented. We talk about it every time we talk about Sam, right? Like Sam he has the athleticism. He's fast. He's strong. We've seen him get after the quarterback. But he's still a little bit of a mystery. Now, here's what you hope. You hope year 3, a no-nonsense guy in Zimmer and Skanina that really gets to Sam Williams. Because there's something to the Quinn administration leveling off of confidence with Sam Williams. Go look at his snap count. Just decreased. This was Quinn's guy. Hey, man, worked you out, drafted you in the second round. You my guy. He gets put in the doghouse. McCarthy, though, and we showed this a while ago, a couple months ago, they asked him about some of these third-year dudes that have to step up because other guys have left. He brought up Sam Williams by name.
Absolutely. I mean, just look at, with DA moving on and the opportunities that's going to, I mean, Sam is definitely probably either in the front of the line or near the front of the line of one of the players that needs to step up. I mean, he's going to be given more opportunities. I mean, Sam has done, he's made impactful plays in the short time that he, compared to his play time. So, yes, I think that's an excellent example.
Damn right, it's an excellent example. He saw his production tail off a little bit. He had 10 tackles for loss his rookie year. We were all, hey, man, this is amazing. And 4 or 5 sacks. I got this one wrong on Sam. I thought in 2023, Sam would be double-digit or close to it. Didn't happen. He had like 4 sacks and only 5 tackles for loss. And he was frustrated with his playing time. He went on Twitter, free me, the dog thing, and all of that. But at the same time, you're going out there and you're crashing cars and you're not doing your assignment right on the field. You lost trust of your staff. I'm telling you right now, Sam, if you're listening, Mike Zimmer, and you probably know this already, it's Coach Skanina. They're not here for it. They're not. If you don't do what they say or you don't execute said assignment, you're not going to play. No matter how light this room may be, you go on Twitter and all you're not going to play. Let your play speak for you. You're not D-Law or Micah. You ain't there yet. Not even close. Use somebody else's second round pick. But here's the thing. We know you can do it. We've seen you rush the passer. We've seen you be impactful. Now you're going to have all the opportunities. You're going to have all the snaps in the world to be that guy. Can he take the year 3 maturity step? That's all I care about. He's going to take, he's already the athlete. I need him to be more mature on the field and obviously off the field, which should translate on the field. But even on the field, he just needs to be more mature. Because look at that, man. Like he's got the traits. And we're going to need him. D-Shift, we're talking about Sam, man. It seems like that got you going here. What's up with you, D-Shift?
What's going on, man? Good morning to you, bro.
Good morning.
Man, I like this topic a lot. And I think part of it, like the main thing of it is I was just kind of looking up kind of like defensively, like what teams had the most sacks. And I know like sacks don't really matter, it's the pressures and all that you want to like really, really dive into. But just off like just a quick reference, looking at the Ravens, I think they led the league in total sacks, but the guy who led the team on sacks was like a defensive tackle. The Matambuke or
Matambuke had a breakout season, yeah.
So I think, for me, I'm just all about like the end goal. I think whatever way we get there, I really don't feel like it matters. Because their edge rushers were, I guess they played 3-4. So they had Van Noy and Clowney.
Yeah, Clowney had like 9 sacks last year. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, for Clowney, that's good. For Micah, that would be definitely underwhelming. But I think as far as like what we tasked
Clowney's more D-law.
defensive end, yeah, for sure. And so like I guess we have we're kind of building up on like kind of D-law. 'Cause I think Sam Williams, does he have like pretty good run stopping traits?
She has a size. It's about in between the ears. He has a size and a strength. He's 6'4", 265 or something like that. It's just about him being able to play the scheme that's called. We saw, like I said, his rookie year where he wasn't as disciplined. But once he became disciplined, you saw him make plays against the run. Sam can play the run. It's just about doing, what the coaches ask of him to do.
Right. And I think, from the standpoint of, like, again, overall what you want this unit to do, I think you have a generational player, like, already kind of putting up that production, and then you have a Pro Bowler. To have to reach in the depth, I think it more speaks to the fact that you're not getting it from elsewhere. Like, even if you had, like, a better Sam Williams and a better Marshaun, Marshaun Kneeland was pretty good. Unfortunately, they can't all four be on the field at the same time. You're still going to have, like, those underwhelming tackles.
Yeah, they will.
Like, not all the time.
Yeah, you'll see them out there on pure pass rush downs.
Right, and our biggest problem was run support, like, stopping the run.
Yeah, that's a defensive tackle conversation that we'll have once we get to that unit.
And I guess, like I'm saying, like, so even if we had, like, and, like, it's not practical to have just, like, four souped-up defensive ends on any team. You know what I mean? Like, you got to get it from elsewhere. And so I think in context for me, like, I understand what you're saying as far as, like, we need the depth, but I feel like underlining the biggest problem is the fact that you're not getting support elsewhere on your defense. And so it makes it feel like these guys got to pan out. Like, your second-round picks, Sam, Marshaun, y'all got to pan out. You got to live up to it because we're not going to get it from these DTs, and now it's your job. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like
let's pretend you had defensive tackles. Let's just pretend. You still need your third and fourth pass rusher to get busy. Think about your third pass rusher the last 2 years had 8 and 9 sacks. And we still were like, because when your best guy, and I'm gonna talk about this, over the next two guys we talk about, and Demarcus Lawrence and Micah, when your best guy is not getting home or creating, who is? That's why it's so important that Sam Williams and Marshaun, and it's not fair to Marshaun, at the very least can pick up where Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler, who was one of your better pass rushers too. You don't have Dorrance and Dante right now. You hope Sam can be Dante. You hope Sam can be Dorrance. We just don't know that yet. And that, look, I'm not even a crazy Dorrance fan.
You got to kind of also see what Dorrance and Sam are going to now do. I mean, Dorrance and Dante, what they're going to do. And they're both at Washington, right?
Sure.
So it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do in Washington and see how much of an effect it was playing on a team where you have a Micah who you got to come do.
Let me tell you why it doesn't matter.
It up,
It doesn't matter because we're talking about replacing their production on this team. I care less what they do. I don't care what they do in Washington. We're talking about replacing the production. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It does not matter about referencing what they do in Washington, because you have to replace.
Think about Laurent Robertson. When people were clamoring to pay. I'm gonna stay with me, Scott. So when people were clamoring to pay Laurent Robinson all the money about wide receiver, and he left this team, and he went to Jacksonville, right? Am I getting his name right? The wide receiver?
I don't know a soul who was clamoring to pay Laurent Robinson. That's interesting. Go on.
No, I'm okay. So clamor is not the right word from argumentative standpoint. Just at that point, people like Jacksonville obviously paid him money.
Sure.
And then you see it all the time. Guys get paid money, and they go to other teams and they don't have that same production because they don't have what's around them. And I could argue that Sam.
No, but me personally, I can't speak for nobody else. Me personally, I don't care about losing Dorrance and Dante. I care about replacing their production. I don't think those dudes were hump guys. I think they were quality depth guys. So can our depth guys replace their production? What they do in Washington or Jacksonville or across the seas, I can care less about because they don't have the players that we have. So if you can't replace at the very least the production with the same two guys in front of them, what does that say about your depth when, and again, I'm going to get to more numbers here in a second. What does that say about your depth when maybe your all-pro, all-world rusher is not getting home, or maybe they scheme them up? And Mike Zimmer actually talks about this here in a second. I'm going to play that as well. So that's why I say I don't care what they do in Washington. I need guys that are here, or maybe they potentially bring in, to replace what they did because they were quality depth guys. You can't.
Well, we saw that. Unfortunately, when you shut down Micah, like your team does nothing. Because we saw that in Green Bay. Like Micah got shut down.
In many things.
And so like
many games.
I feel like you're still at the same standpoint, but I could also argue that
you could argue you're worse.
You don't have quality linebacker, you don't have a quality defensive tackle. I don't think just all of like I hear you like I don't think it's as much of a red alert, but it's a concern. You know, it's it's an easier way to get better.
I think you're arguing against yourself here. It's a concern. That's all that's what I'm saying here.
But it's not to the degree that you're talking. That's my argument, to the degree that you're talking. It's
what degree am I talking when I'm just bringing up a question or of saying, hey, we don't have the same depth. That's facts. That's just facts. You don't have the same depth as you had, and we need these guys to step up because you don't have that depth. I'm not sure how that's me saying anything other than what is.
I don't know. I don't look at Dante and Dorrance as the depth, I guess, that you're looking at them as, and I think they can be like more easily replaced than Sam. Yes, between the ears, but I think you keep on turning like the Marshauns, and if I think you can replace them.
I'm not having
this year.
I think you're arguing against yourself. They are quality depth.
Nah.
We need to replace the quality depth. We don't know if we have yet. That's the thing. Because Marshawn's not proven. Sam is not proven. You didn't go out and sign Dante Fowler. You didn't go out and sign a Dorrance Armstrong to be in. Say you went out and signed, remember 2022? They went out and signed Dante Fowler to replace Basham. We knew that's a quality depth guy because we've seen him do it in the league. We've seen neither of these guys do it, hence why there's question marks and why they need to step up because you lost that quality depth. Not saying that these dudes are all world players that can't be replaced. That never came out of my mouth. They can be replaced. The question is, do the guys we have on the roster, can they replace them? We don't know yet.
Yeah, your issue. I mean, my issue is like the playoffs. Honestly, like those guys couldn't get it done in the playoffs anyway. So
right, and you arguably got worse from a surefire depth point. That's what I'm saying, bro.
I don't think you are. Well, no, this is not an argument. Like if worse is just like, yes, you definitely got worse, but I don't think worse to like. I don't think worse to like. That's the problem with this defense. Even if you got better,
I gotta let you go, bro, because you keep turning the conversation into something that it's not, man. Appreciate you, big dog.
Nah, I'm not.
I'm not one point in time in this whole entire thing did I say that is the main issue on this defense. This is called state of the unit edge. So we're talking about edge. You want to turn the conversation into defensive tackle. We'll get there. I promise you. All offseason, we talked about the defensive tackle room being the weakest unit on probably not just this defense, but the team. Yes, the defensive tackles need to be better to help everybody on the defense. But it's state of the unit edge, and we're talking about these guys. Am I making sense here? Laurent Robinson was crazy. That was crazy. Let's get this thing back on the rails here and talk about Demarcus Lawrence here for a second, man. I've brought this up about D-Law, calling him one of those glue guys. You need a glue guy like D-Law on the roster. Dependable veteran, does the dirty work. Every team needs that. Throwback left defensive end actually morphed into that. But his calling card is being a menace in the run game, right? Second in the NFL in run stops. Came up huge. One of my favorite things to watch on film is when teams put a tight end on Demarcus Lawrence. Hey, I don't know why they decide. I mean, I get it. Tight ends have to block defense ends. But it's goofy to put a tight end on Demarcus Lawrence. With that said, he's a menace in the run game. And I love D-Law. But he's not the sack guy that he once was back in the day. Pressure guy, yeah, he'll get pressure. He got a lot of pressures in 2023. More pressures last year than he got in 2022. Well, I'm sorry. Pressure percentage was higher last year than it was in 2022. But I don't expect him to elevate back to that sack artist that he may have been. What was it, y'all? 2015, 16, 17, where he had like 14 and a half sacks. I don't see it. In the last 2 seasons, over the final 7 games of the season, Demarcus Lawrence has not registered a sack. Nobody talking about that. They talk about the other guy. The last 2 seasons, I repeat, over the final 7 games of the season, Demarcus Lawrence has not registered a sack. Sacks aren't everything. Get it? It's what, 14 games? Now, 5 of those games, he did have 4 more pressures. So, he did put pressure on these teams. He did show up in the run department. But that goes back to what kind of was saying on the phone with D-Ship. That's why it's important to have a quality, 6-man, right? As they say, right? We talk about basketball. It's important to have that other guy because your second guy isn't that sack guy. He's not. And you haven't had a defensive tackle that's going to get after it like that. As much as I like Osa hasn't got after it like that consistently throughout the year. So now Mike Zimmer's here. And I got to thinking, and I said, well, can Mike Zimmer get one more surge out of Demarcus Lawrence? Can Mike Zimmer turn, and it's hard to say turn because he's still a good player. Can he be Everson Griffin to the Danielle Hunter? Danielle Hunter, the premier pass rusher, elite at what he does, but who's his Batman? It was Everson Griffin. Everson Griffin had quality seasons into his 30s under Mike Zimmer, and that's with him being a head case. So I just wonder, can he be the Everson Griffin? He already kind of is, obviously, right? But I'm trying to compare it with Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer here. Who did Mike have in Minnesota? He had Danielle Hunter, his guy, and he had Everson Griffin. I do think that Demarcus Lawrence can see a bit of a surge. Now, a surge could be 6 sacks, 7 sacks, and I'll live with that. But the pressures may go up. Maybe we make more plays, right? More forced fumbles, more tackles for loss. But I think he's going to love playing in this defense because it's very sound. It's about containing and getting after it on the ground to be able to rush the passer. And it's also about Zimmer scheming things up for these guys, Oppo of 11, to make plays. But that's where you can argue, well, does he still have that in him? Does Sam Williams have that in him? Does Marshaun Kneeland have that in him? The latter two, we're not sure. No, not Everson Griffin in Dallas. Everson Griffin in Minnesota. And then you have the MPP, the Micah Parsons, bro. As Baldy calls it. The plan of attack for Micah is like the blinking light under this new regime, right? Like, how is Zimmer going to use him? He's the one true pass rushing weapon we can definitively say the Cowboys have, and just so happens to be one of the best in the game. And really one of the best starts ever to a career at the position. But even still, the plan is extremely important. And Zimmer laid out some of that, right, when he talked. Actually, man, if you really listen to Zim, he gave it all. He gave it all away in the sense of how they want to use him and why it's important for these other guys to step up. Mind you, the other guys aren't as sure as they were in years past. That's why this room is very interesting and doesn't get talked about enough. What gets talked about is him, the one guy you shouldn't be worried about. But this is Mike Zimmer on Micah Parsons in the plan.
Well, they don't have to take many steps. I think, as we're just sitting up there again this morning talking about other things we can do with him. And, he's such a dynamic player that I said this the other day that, the offenses are always going to know where he's at. And so, they're going to turn protections to him. They're going to, have the back help chip no matter what it is. And a lot of the games he played last year that I watched, the offenses had a good scheme where they get 2 tight ends on him and all those things. So we're gonna obviously gonna move him around, doing different things with him, but we're gonna use him some ways where we're getting the protection turned the way we want it turned, and then able to win on the other side. And there's sometimes we're gonna try to overload a protection where he gets a one-on-one.
A whole lot there. By the way, breaking news real quick. And we'll talk about it tomorrow on the roundup. But Cowboys have signed linebacker from UFL, Willie Harvey Jr. We're going to call him the assassin. If you weren't here for the show, you don't know why we're doing that. But the UFL linebacker standout, Willie Harvey Jr. has signed with the Cowboys. But Mike Zimmer, man, he pretty much laid it all out right there. We're going to move him around. I love to hear that. We talked about the snap count. Now, the snap count or snap usage may not go crazy of a difference from box and D-line. The move around aspect could be maybe he's on the left, he's on the right, he's rushing from the middle, he'll play some backer snaps, he'll peel back. I think they're just going to utilize him up and down the line of scrimmage because they realize, and you heard what he said here, man, teams paid so much attention to him. So how can we take advantage of that? He said, we're going to get protection turned the way we want it turned so that you're able to win on the other side. Now, this is where I want to get the numbers, because we briefly talked about it with D-Shift. Some of these better defensive units getting after the passer last year had multiple guys that were a factor in that. You brought up Baltimore. Baltimore had 3 guys that had 50-plus pressures. Kansas City had 3 guys that had 8 or more sacks. Miami had 4 guys that had 6 or more sacks. Indy had 2 players with double-digit sacks and 3 with 8 or more. The Jets had 3 players with 50 or more pressures. The Cowboys went from being a top 2-3 pass rush unit from pressures and sacks to falling out of the top 10 and getting home. And they had one guy. One with 50 or more pressures. That guy right there. Micah Parsons. I just read off all of these teams that have a plethora of guys that get after the pass rush. You had one consistently doing it. And yes, that includes the playoffs, where even in a game where Micah was not even close to being the high-end Micah, he was the only dude to register more than 1 pressure. He had 3 in that game. Now, they were outclassed schematically, sure. And again, that's why I believe the real conversation is about outside of 11, who's going to bring it? Outside of 11, how can Zimmer make life easier for these guys to bring it? And we talked a little bit about that last week, right? We showed some of the film on how Zim can get Micah one-on-one. And this was one of the situations where we were talking about how to use the safeties, how we get down here and we got a numbers game. Oppo, or to the left, I should say, of this center. And as we let the play run, these are the games that Zimmer will play with the quarterback and the protection, to where now, boom, They have the protection called to slide left. What does that do? They slide left, and you get one-on-one over here with your best pass rusher, and let's pretend that's Micah Parsons on a freaking tight end. This is what Zim is going to do to get this guy loose. But he's also going to do things to set it up, right? For other guys. We just need those other guys to step up. And that's where I think there's legitimate questions. Until, obviously, we see Marshaun Kneeland and Sam Williams consistently be that. A lot of the conversation is, well, Micah Parsons needs to play linebacker. And for the last 2 seasons, I've been saying, the reason why he's not is because they don't trust everybody else to be able to get that type of production from the passing game or pass rush department. Now, Zimmer's here. Maybe Zimmer's scheme, things switch up. But can you confidently say Micah Parsons not rushing the passer? You're confident in D-Law, Sam Williams, Marshaun Kneeland, and let's just pretend here, Viliami Fehoko. Getting enough pressure on the quarterbacks. Down in, down out. Zim, as much as I love Zim, it's going to be a challenge, right? Now, fortunately for him, he has a Micah. He has a D-Law. He has Sam. He has something to work with. It's not bare at all. And I think he's a better schemer than Dan Quinn is. But from a sheer 1v1 up and down the line, it's not what it once was. But the pressure is on guys like Sam and Marshaun and Demarcus. Let's be real. And Demarcus Lawrence. Because Zim told you right there, we're going to set y'all up. Y'all got to execute. We're going to purposely use Micah Parsons as bait. You know, guys are going to triple, double team him. It's up to y'all to get home. And it's not going to be, hey, D-Law, hey, Osa, and hey, Sam, and you guys can go out there and run stunts when you want to. It's on you. Nah, man. They're not going to let them do that. Not going to let them do it. 210 is on the horn. Not familiar with this number, but what's good, 210?
Hey, what's good with you? What's good, Sky?
What's happening?
Big Mitch, man, from the chat box. I'm the one that's always roasting everybody. Yeah, all y'all funny looking up. Hey, I'm going to stop because some more stuff, man.
Big
hey,
Max,
look,
what's
man,
up, Big Max? Let me save you.
Man, I can't call it, man. I had to call in and support a little bit, man.
Appreciate it.
This second lineup of characters that you put on that screen, I don't even know who they is, man. Don't even put them up no more because they ain't doing anything for nobody. For Hoko and none of them characters, whatever that screen was, we don't got to put that up no more, guys.
Think about this. Think about this. Last year, when we did this second group of characters consisted of Dante Fowler and Sam Williams. That's how different this is.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, that's ugly. I mean, at least we had a little something. I like Sam Williams. I just think he need to prove himself first before he do all that tweeting and stuff that he's doing. I'm gonna tell you, man, a little bit of discipline goes a long way for a lot of these guys. I'm not a football player, and I don't make the money none of these men do. You know what I mean? But I do have a skill set in the job that I do, and I'm very good at it. But part of the way that I got good at this and got good to this point was because I knew when to shut my mouth and prove myself with my work ethic. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people like to hate on goddamn Micah about the podcast and stuff. I see why that happens. You know, the best in the league aren't the best because of they physical abilities. That next upper echelon comes when you start applying the mental. Yep. When you start disciplining yourself, practicing different. Some of them guys watch hours and hours and hours of film every week before games. So could he be reallocating those hours maybe to film study? Yeah, ain't always got to be lifting weights and running and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? But can he reallocate them hours to something that's going to make him better than the next guy that's got almost as much physical athleticism as him?
Sure.
You know, Mark Ingram,
so you're under the assumption all he do is just lift weights and run around. You're under the assumption he don't watch
No,
no film.
no, I'm not under that assumption. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that some people think that when you say focus more on football, they think you need to be out training. It ain't all necessarily training.
Yeah.
You know, there's a mental aspect of it that's just as important as the training. That's kind of the point that I'm making.
Yeah, I mean, these are professionals. It goes well beyond just lifting weights and being fast, for sure. If you want to be great, like
Absolutely.
you said, it's definitely about the mental.
And I think you don't
Do you
get that
want
next
it
level unless you start dedicating some of that time to dissecting defenses, to learning, you know what I mean, what I can't remember who it was. It was a big old island dude. He played with the Ravens, man, back when, you know, they had a squad on defense. Yeah, Haloti Ngata. He could tell you everything, everybody's responsibility on the defense. That dude could tell you what the cornerbacks were supposed to be playing, what the safeties were supposed to be doing on every single play. That's book work.
That's book work, but that's also coaching. We ain't get to the linebackers.
I agree. I believe we got a coaching problem. I think you're right.
We ain't get to the linebackers yet, but DeMarvion Overshown said something very striking about Dan Quinn. And again, I'm not trying to disrespect Quinn, but he basically said, "Man, I'm excited to play with Mike Zimmer because he's going to actually coach us where we know what everybody is doing." To me, that sounds like he's saying, "Look, y'all, this is your job. Just do this and hope for the best in regards to Quinn." Right? And that's what everybody was doing. They was just out there doing individual things.
Get me started on Quinn.
Excuse me?
You don't even want to get me started on Quinn. That dude full of shit. He was playing everybody out of position. Motherfucker playing safety, that goddamn defensive tackle.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear nothing about that dude. He was trash.
Well, one reason I
believe you're right.
One reason I bring it up
is,
the only reason I bring it up is because DeMarvion Overshown said they're being coached differently, and one of the things that are different in being coached is he's saying we are learning what everyone is doing. Now, asking a defensive end or tackle to know what a safety is doing, play in, play out, that's a bit unrealistic down in, down out. But a linebacker, that is very important to know where coverage is shifting, what's happening up front, 100%. What's happening behind me. And really weird to me that sounds like they weren't being coached to do that. I don't know, man. That's strange to me. Strange.
I feel I could definitely see that. I think the best thing probably for us too was to get rid of that dude, let him go to wherever to be a head coach, because that dude shit the bed in the playoffs. He got worse as the year went along. As far as the defensive, there was never an adjustment made at halftime the whole season. He was garbage. He never tried to fix it.
Bro, I don't know why. Like they I don't know, man. They just scared to fire guys. I'm trying to find this quote for you. But it was a fireable offense. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Here it is.
I think this ain't going to be turned over to Quinn. I think this is a 1 year. I mean, not Quinn, to Zimmer. I think this is like a 1 year, tryout for him to get up under the team. I think next year Mike going to be gone and Zimmer's going to be in there and put an emphasis more on this coaching that we're talking about. I do believe we've been miscoached for a long time. You know what I mean? These guys just ain't really teaching like they're supposed to.
Here's a quote from Overshown. It said, quote, "I like Zim because he teaches us football. You feel it and you get a good grasp of everything going on with the defense. You know what the safeties are doing and what the D-line is doing in front of you, and it's easy to click with everybody." He said, "I tell people all the time I'm excited to play for him. I've seen who he's coached, the defense he's been a part of, and they've all been special. When you get to play for a guy like this, you want to take everything that he says and write it down and make a mental note of it, because he's not telling you anything that's not going to make you a great player in this league."
I mean, I feel like that's exactly what you're saying. That man's saying it without saying that man wasn't coaching.
Yeah.
He's using different words to say that dude wasn't never coaching us or teaching us the positions we needed to be. And it is like that sometimes. You know what I mean? I'm gonna tell you now. I was with a restaurant. I'm a chef, so I was with a restaurant that I loved. I've been with two other places that I really loved, and I didn't want to leave either of those places. And now at the place where I'm at, it's a little bit smaller of a company, but I've learned more from my mentor at this job than any other place I've ever been. And I'm talking about organizational skills. I'm talking about he don't let me guess nothing. Everything is math. So if we got a party and we got 40 people coming for this party and this is what the set menu is, well, how much of every protein are you cooking? I don't know, Chef. What do you think? I don't know. You tell me on the numbers. How much you think per person are we serving? 6 ounces a person, 40 people. Do the math. How much of that protein do we need? Okay, now they're going to eat this. They're going to eat this. The point is everything got to be factual.
Got to be connected.
And no guesswork.
Let me. Here's what I think happened here, man. I brought this up before. Actually, mine is. I don't need to talk about it publicly, but Dan Quinn is a defensive line coach at heart. He's a defensive line guy at heart. Who do you see him working with mostly, right? It's the D-line.
Yeah, the rush guy.
It's the D-line. It's the rush guy. And what did he have on his staff? He had a passing game coordinator, right? And when you talk about when DeMarvion Overshown says, hey, man, we're being taught this, we're being taught that, and we know what this guy's doing, that guy's doing, think about who was doing the quote-unquote teaching at his position. Scott McCurley, okay? I'm telling you right now, if they won't say it, I will. I highly doubt there's a linebacker in that room that looks at Scott McCurley and is like, yeah, man, that's our guy. The real linebackers coach left that building. The real linebackers coach left that building the year before, and I forget his name. He actually coached under under Michael Zimmer, believe it or not. I forget his name. He went to help me out here, y'all. What's the linebackers? The defensive assistant that left is having a brain fart here. But anyway, you got it. No, you don't got it. He left. So the guy, George Edwards, thank you. The guy coaching really coaching them wasn't there anymore. Scott McCurley ain't that guy. So Mike Zimmer comes in. Mike Zimmer, what does he do? He's a DB's guy, right? But his scheme is predicated on everything connecting. So for years, he had a guy that helped connect it in Paul Gunther. Paul Gunther sets up those blitzes that connect with the rush. Mike Zimmer that connects with the coverage. Mike Zimmer's coverage mirrors what's happening in front of him. So all of this is important. So what does Mike Zimmer do? Let me go get my guy that connects it all in Paul Gunther. So guess what's happening right now? And you can listen to Brian Broaddus. When Paul Gunther got hired, I said, oh, that's your linebackers coach. He might not say linebackers coach. Neither did George Edwards. Edwards was a defensive assistant senior. Paul Gunther says run coordinator. But guess who's out there coaching the linebackers? Paul Gunther, not Scott McCurley. So when Paul Gunther is actually coaching and teaching and showing how these things connect, of course DeMarvion Overshown gonna be like, damn, this is how it's really done. Yeah, that's how it's done because he wasn't here for George Edwards.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's kind of what it's going to take is for us to teach these guys more. You know what I mean? I think you're exactly right, though. These coaches is more focused on teaching these guys they positions that fit the schemes so that they can execute as a team. I feel that. Hey, look, I really appreciate it, man. I didn't have a whole lot more than that. I was just calling to run my mouth a little bit. Hey, everybody in the chat, man, I'm going to see your mama at football practice tomorrow. Tell them they're running with the ones, all right? They're running with the ones tomorrow, so they better have their jock strapped up, all right? You be
appreciate you, Big Max.
Appreciate you, bro.
Big Max gave us the chef comparison. I like it, man. Yeah, it all got to make sense. It all got to connect. But I thought that was telling to me. And I was saving that for the linebacker unit. Maybe we'll do that next week. I'll run that thing right back. But I truly do believe that is why you saw, and look, I mean, the bodies weren't the same either in the room, but you saw a disconnect. You saw just kind of a bit of a drop off per se in that unit and beyond just on the field, but clearly in the study room, in the meeting room, whatever. I always bring this up. Micah's rookie year where he was back and forth linebacker, but it's mostly linebacker, but rushed as well. I thought it was an amazing year. He credit George Edwards for the linebacker stuff. Heavy, big time. And I saw somebody in the chat, I think it was Toxic a while ago, that said maybe, or no, actually it was while we were talking about this, maybe that's why Micah never went back to linebacker room because George wasn't there. I mean, he still was back and forth in it, but I don't know that George would have made a difference in that sense because once Micah showed he can be a dominant rusher, I think Q was like, gimme. He's mine. He's mine. We're going to figure out how to make this work. Plus, there's no Randy over here. There's not another guy that's as dynamic. So they felt he needed to do that, and he did. But Zim, Also, Gunther, I do think you'll see these backers be just better in general, but they'll be more in sync now. How much better? Well, that'll depend on the other unit that we'll talk about at some day. The defensive tackles. So, there's only so much scheme that can keep bodies off of these guys. You're going to need some of these DTs to step it up. But I hope that made sense when talking about, Gunther being the linebackers coach and Q, Dan Quinn being a defensive line guy. You didn't see Dan Quinn coaching the safeties and the corners. You saw him work with the backers from time to time. Well, Micah was there. You saw him doing that because what did he start doing? Hey, LVE, go line up at the edge and rush the passer. Come on, man. But he had a pass game coordinator. You deal with that. You handle that. Zim's hands are on everything, but he has a right-hand man guy that knows how to marry these things. And I think it's extremely important to bring Gunther, man, because I feel like if you hadn't brought him, you might have had peanut butter, no jelly. You might have had cereal, no milk. One of them units might have been, yeah. And the other one, you might be like, oh, man, something's going on here. Because Zim couldn't be everywhere. Now Zim can confidently work with the pass coverage unit schematically with trust that his guy, Paul Gunther, knows how to marry that without him being there in that room. That's why when you heard Micah speak, again, there's a lot of things that just went over everybody's head. Yeah, man, we only had 20 minutes conversation or whatever it was, right? But if you listen to what he said, me and Gunther been talking the whole time. Yeah, because Gunther is the linebackers coach and the run game coordinator who's marrying the front seven with the back end. And Zim is the guy that's going to be working with the back end for the most part. He's going to be calling the plays. He trusts his guy and Gunther to get these dudes on, schedule. But you're not going to see Mike Zimmer coaching up Micah on the field as much as you'll see him coaching up Diggs, Hooker, Wanye, Bland, Jordan Lewis. You're going to see Greg Ellis, Skanina, Gunther working with these guys on the practice field. That doesn't mean you don't talk to your defense. Obviously, but that's just how it goes from a coaching standpoint. In 2024, it's not three coaches for one team. They break this thing down, and you need to have a trusted guy, and Gunther's a trusted guy. Uh-oh. B-Max, what you doing in there? I don't know, still them boys. He said the botched Randy Grill set us back. I mean, did we kind of dodge a bullet? Kind of dodge a bullet, though. So like, if you go back and when Randy left and when Lyle left, I was like, hey, I guess. Because we had Michael that was going to replace that, and we had Terrence, in my opinion, that was going to replace Lyle. But I do think we dodged a bullet on our guy, Randy. Randy, he tripping right now. Toxic said, with all of those reports about Dan, how do we almost bring him back? Complacency, comfortability, right? They're comfortable. But if you guys go back and remember during the season, I would drop these little breadcrumbs of, hey, there's some lost faith in that locker room. There's frustration in usage. I was told, quote, we ran the same 3 damn plays. It was building up. But you got the win in Detroit, right? You smacked on Washington. Escaped in Detroit, by the way. By the way, that last possession was awful defensively. And it kind of masked what happened in Miami. It masked what happened in Buffalo. But the same things happen in these type of losses. And you get to the playoffs And it is, I'm not going to use the word sabotage. I'm not going to use that word. But maybe he was distracted. There was something wrong. I mean, to look that putrid in regards to preparation and schematically, to get out-coached that bad, something wasn't all the way there. T-Roy, yes, defensively. There was some faith being lost on that side of the ball with the guy. And the frustrating part, and I don't think you'll see that with Zim, is every time something was going awry, he was up there with the hat backwards and his hands on his hips. You ain't going to see that with Zim. You're not going to see that with Zim. Zim going to light a fire in these guys. Yeah, Mark. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do, That's what I'm trying to do. Rolo said, Arizona game, Buffalo game, embarrassing. Yeah. The Packer game, for real, schematically, if you go look at it, it mirrors Arizona. The difference, Jordan Love and the Pastronaut. The difference, their offense coordinator is cool, but Mike LaFleur is worlds better. Offense line was better. The run game was better. It was a better team, but it mirrored It's like Mike LaFleur went in there and said, wait, they didn't change up a damn thing from what they was doing in week 3. Let's go use that. And it worked. Zim can only light so much fire in them. Sure, that's fair. That hence why there's still questions. And why I thought they needed to add more talent to this side of the ball. Now, again, peanut butter, no jelly. You made your linebacker room better, but your defensive line, to me, is worse as it stands right now on paper. Well, Matisse, if you want to go all the way back to that, not drafting TJ. Yeah. I do always think about the butterfly effect, though. Like, if you did draft TJ Watt, we're not complaining. But what happens then? Like, who's not here? Who's here? But yeah, TJ Watt, not taking him was just goofy. But again, it's Dak's fault, Jay. I mean, brother, at this point, I'm just numb to that whole thing. We understand everything is Dak Prescott's fault. But it sure would have been nice to not get absolutely outmatched defensively. Given some time for this. But I'm not going to take away from the offense in the way it came out. They can't keep doing that. That's becoming a recurring thing. They can't keep doing it. All right, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Even with some of the discourse, I thought it brought up good conversation. Let's get some. If I miss a super, I don't think I did, but let me just check. Nope, we good. We good. Yeah, and in case you did miss it, we broke it down briefly. But the Cowboys did sign a UFL linebacker, Willie Harvey Jr., a.k.a. the Assassin. Let's hope he is a real assassin here on the field. We'll bring it up again in a roundup. Adding to that room, I would love for them to go look at some UFL defensive tackles. I don't know nothing about them, but I feel like that's the part of the defense you need to add guys to. I'm happy adding another linebacker. I feel like you still needed more. Let's get these guys into camp and let them battle. But boy, that DT room looking real light, man. Oh yeah, my bad, D-Shift. Yeah, it's all Dak and Micah's fault. I just find it hilarious that when we talk about this unit, talk about this side of the ball, there's so much discourse with 11 when there's so many other things I wouldn't say he's wrong with this, but there's so many things that you need to be questioning and be concerned about. 11 is the last thing that I'm worried about, man. What's wrong with y'all? All right. With that said, do me a favor on the way out. If you enjoyed this show today, hit that like button, share it with your true diehard, remember, your degenerate Cowboy fans. We are in the dead period. We are in June. you share it with your casuals. They'd be like, I don't give a damn about no Viliami Fehoko. I don't care about Marshaun Kneeland. You know how that go. Share it with your degenerate, diehard Dallas Cowboy fans. And we'll be back later this week with Patrick Nosey Walker. I had to remember. Are we doing Thursday or Friday? Thursday, Pat will be on. Friday, I'll be traveling. Breaking news, says Foots the King. Cowboys rumored to be intrigued in UFL linebacker. Thank you, Big Max. All right, let me go ahead and press this button and get up out of here. Y'all have been fantastic today, man. Missed y'all.
Push the goddamn button. Push the goddamn button.
I got you. Yeah, I always believe we care more, Toxic. That's for damn sure. Now, they care about the bread. They care about the bottom line. They care about the views and things more than we do. But I think we care about the product more. We care about the team in that aspect more. Yeah. All right, we out here. Love y'all. Yes, sir. Thursday with Pat. Friday traveling tomorrow. Happy Juneteenth. We'll be out.